Hello, everyone. I am absolutely delighted to introduce you today and have a special guest for the School of Charisma, Trudy Bateman. Hi, Trudy.
Hello.
And Trudy is the head of strength at Cappfinity, who is a consulting company that basically has founded the strength profile test, which is one of the most used in companies, in university. Trudy has worked on delivering incredible program for leadership, for companies, for universities, for teams, so that they leverage their strength to be their best self, professionally and personally, and has worked with many incredible company, including the BBC, Warwick University, countless actually university, PwC, and many more. So I'm so delighted to have you here today because we are talking about leadership, we're talking about confidence, we're talking about developing ourselves in, in the next wave of leadership, which is changing from transactional to transformational. And it's really important to understand how we can become, we can actually develop in our potential. So Trudy, the first thing, can I ask you to, actually, I want to remember the first time that we met, which was 4 years ago at when I was becoming a strength profile practitioner with the Langley Institute after my diploma in positive psychology, and you were there. And I was very impressed about understanding this new world of strength, because usually we always look at what we can't do very well. I mean, I come from a corporate world in investment banking, and we were doing the 360, so spending loads of time of what you're not doing well and how you can improve. And so for me, it was a revelation, to see that there were one of the column of positive psychology was to develop yourself in the best self, and you do that by leveraging on your strength. So can you tell me a little bit more about the impact of strength and how useful they are?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with ourselves. And first of all, thank you for having me here today as well. So I guess we look at it in different ways in how it can help you, but the most important, we have to start with ourselves. So when we think about self-awareness, it can feel quite intuitive. I think we think we're self-aware, but most people, I'm sure you've experienced this, when you ask them to maybe talk about their strengths, there's silence, there's a blank sheet of paper, you can't get the words out. Maybe you muster up some things like, I'm good with people, I'm good at communicating, and it becomes a sort of an area that you thought you were good at, when actually when you come down to it, it's really hard to talk about yourself. So it starts with self-awareness, and that self-awareness, once we understand those things that we're good at, our strengths, we then become more confident. So once I know what I'm good at, I can talk about it. Once I can talk about it, I can sell myself in that area. Once I start to do more in that area, then I'm going to perform better because I'm using my strengths. So performance comes along. Once performance comes along, hey presto, I'm more confident because guess what? I'm performing better. So there's a huge amount here that sort of, it's all about self-awareness and starting to use your strengths. And from there, we become more confident. If you think about that, then the confidence and performance, then our resilience is heightened, because we're working in a space that we're much more confident, our well-being improves, we become happier. So for a personally, whether you're using it professionally or personally, for an individual, the benefits are enormous. But and I think it often starts for most people with that light bulb moment of, oh, what are strengths and what are mine?
Absolutely. But I've noticed when I deliver the strength profile, the test, and we do the briefing, the majority of people concentrate on their weaknesses. So they look at their weaknesses like, oh my God, I lack self-belief. Oh my God, how do I improve that? And obviously we look at our unrealized strength mainly, which are,
Yeah.
which is basically the things that we are very good at, but we don't use often. And we try to leverage what our weakness, so that, we can improve in an effortless way, rather than focusing, okay, how can I get better, or about something I can't really, perform, and it doesn't give me energy. So this energy, I think it really is an element which I absolutely love about the strength profile, because everything that gives us energy eventually makes us perform and makes us feel better. So can you tell me a little bit more about this element of the energy, and how kind of is related to performance and confidence and long-term sustainability, really?
Yeah, great question. Of course I can. So I think, so when we start thinking about the three things that we measure for strengths, and performance, of course, has to be one. You've got to be good at something for it to be a strength. So that's a bit of a given. And then strengths profile is a little bit unique because it does measure energy very specifically. So when we think about energy, we think about motivation, we think about passion, we think about excitement, we think about dreams, we think about what drives us out of bed in the mornings. So that's kind of encompassed into the tool. So once we think about something that we're good at, if it's just something that you're good at, you might not actually enjoy it all that much. So performance on its own isn't enough to be a strength, because the energy is not there. When you combine energy, something you're passionate and motivated in, with performance, you can already see, for those of you hopefully watching, wow, look at that combination of performance and energy. So the energy piece, you're absolutely right, is critical. Performance on its own is what we would call a competency. Competency-based interviews, competency-based development. I'll develop the things that I need to develop. I'll develop the things that I'm good at. Not I'll develop the things that I love. So it's the things that you love. So doing more of that is how we look at the energy. So it's really critical. And for most, it's the hardest part to recognize, because I'm sure over the years you've been recognized. Great job, well done, do it again. But when did someone say, you look like you really enjoyed that? Or, I look at look at the way you've come alive when you did that task. People just don't spot energy and motivation, and they don't call it out either. That's what we call strength spotting in the moment, which can be really powerful. So energy is absolutely critical, and it is the difference between kind of having a career that is okay, a career that serves your purpose, rather than a career that you love.
Absolutely. And the purpose of the strength profile and positive psychology in general is to allow people to live a satisfactory, happy life. So there is a proverb that says, if you work in a field that you love, it's like you don't have to really work, because you love what you're doing. So I think that is what the philosophy underlying using your strength, your passion, your motivation to actually then, so the performance looks like a byproduct of this.
Very much so. If you wake up in the morning and think, great, it's work, and I'm not suggesting even if you play to your strengths every day that you do that every day in a job, but we talk about maybe playing to your strengths, 70% of the time is ideal. High performers will do that, but it's about then your well-being the night before. You're not dreading work, you're looking forward to work, you're excited about the day opportunities, so your evening becomes better, your relationships become better, you're not stressed. So and absolutely, when you're working on something that you love, it's performance is a natural given, because from something that your performance needs to be there for a strength, because if you have just sort of something that you love without performance, I'll take my singing. It's dreadful, but I love it. So performance is important, of course, but you're absolutely right. If we pick the things that are our natural strengths, then naturally all of a sudden you're like, goodness me, I learned that really quickly, or suddenly I find myself volunteering for things that aren't even in my to-do list, but because they're my strengths, I want to do them more. I want to help, I want to get involved, I want to push the boundaries in this area.
Yes, absolutely. And as you said, relationships are better because people are less stressed, they're more sort of like in their zone. And in terms of, obviously, for us, for the School of Charisma, there is a lot of attention on charismatic leadership and transformational leadership, the basically living behind the model of the leader as the boss, controlling, looking at his own sort of like gain, but actually a transformational leader, looking at the team, sharing his values, having sort of characteristic like empathy and compassion, that are words that, 10 years ago, 20 years ago would be dreaded if associated with leadership. How do you think using your strength as a leader can increase your leadership impact?
Yeah, well, I think let's start with the fact that when you're using your strengths, you're authentic. So, and what we look there for is, these things come naturally to us. They're things that we enjoy, the things that we do well. So the things that your strengths, you just naturally, just glide towards them. It's what you want to do. So when we're using our strengths, we become really authentic. So when we think about leadership, it's very hard to find a leadership model this is the ideal leader. You've got all of these things in it. Yeah. We've got sort of new waves of research coming through for COVID, post-COVID, and it's a more human leader. It's a more authentic leader. It's a more empathic leader, as you say. It's a more compassionate leader. So if that's what's been identified as, and I guess you could look at any model here of leadership, but those are the things that you're working towards that have been identified. What you want to do then is think about, how do your strengths serve that purpose? So let's say you don't have compassion as your number one strength and you're a leader. That's quite likely. I'm sure we've both come across that. That's probably more than likely. You haven't come into leadership because you were highly compassionate. You might have been a doctor if that was the case. So what we see is then, so if that's what I need to be, well, how can my strengths help me do that? How can I show up with my strengths as a leader and be authentic with my, but also serving this compassion? So you might think, well, what else have I got? How else can I offer that? Maybe it's more of the humility that I need to offer. Actually, maybe it's actually having somebody else in my team that is my well-being spotter. And can come and report things to me. And it's about saying, hey guys, I know a couple of leaders, really great leaders, that will say, actually, I'm not very good at that, but my door is always open and I will always listen, and then I will find the right problem, solving solution for that. But actually, I do struggle a bit with empathy. So imagine that, actually being able to just say, these are the things that I'm great at, and this is how I can serve and help you. But, I want to be compassionate, and that's how I'm going to achieve it, by using someone else or using my other strengths, listening, explaining, problem solving, actually really helping them. Yeah. But maybe being authentic, because if we show up with our strengths, again, it's that authenticity. If we try and muster through something that, let's try and, I'm sure again you've seen it, or a leader tries to be compassionate and they're not, they're going to get it wrong. Absolutely. So it's working towards, and what does empathy look like? Let's show what empathy looks like. It's asking in your one-to-ones every week, and how are you, how can I help you? What do you need from me? Is there anything that I can do? So it might just be 3 questions, rather than, actually, I need to sit down with this person every week and be their coach, if that's not something I'm struggling with. So we want to get them to the end result, and we want them to be really authentic, because what we're seeing, as I'm sure you've alluded to already, is the empathic, compassionate, human leader, authentic leader is the most important leadership trait that's coming through right now. People we can trust. And again, if you're working towards your strengths, if you're playing to your strengths, whether they're perfect or not, they're your strengths. You will be, you're working in a space of trust. This is how I show up, team. And actually, this is how I need you to help me show up even better. This is how, because often when a leader becomes really explicit and open with their weaknesses, it's brilliant opportunity for team members to say, hey, I can help with that. Let me maybe develop my unrealized strengths, and I can support with that. So again, it fosters team working as well.
Yeah. And in fact, that was exactly my next question. In the strength profile, there is like a team sort of like profile test. Can you tell us a little bit how it works, and how is that so useful for team performance?
I love teams. I really love teams, because once you've got the data, the team can do the hard work for themselves. So us as coaches, facilitators, you know, it's not our data. So I find it fascinating that, so if you've seen strengths profile, you have 7 realized strengths, 7 unrealized strengths, 4 learned behaviors and 3 weaknesses in a quadrant. Now that quadrant is replicated for teams, and in brackets after, say, humility being your top realized strength, it will say 9 out of 10, and it will say, you know, 7 out of 10. So it gives how many people in the team all have these strengths, and it gives you that data across all 60. So across all 60 in the report, you can see exactly how many team members have got these, we call them attributes until we know where they fall in the team. So what that can mean is you immediately, and it's the same model, so immediately you get to see what realized strengths that we need to be using wisely as a team, what do we need to be dialing up and dialing down. Because for teams, so personally, when we're looking at strengths profile, these are your patterns, your individual preferences, skills, strengths, values, all these things coming through. When you look at teams, often it's culture, the way the team are working together that's driving the results. So how come, you know, why is it that 9 out of 10 of them have all got improver as a realized strength? Probably because of the culture and the job role and the way that they're working. So it's really powerful to be thinking, let's first of all appreciate all the things that we're good at as a team, and then think about maybe areas that we are almost too good or maybe not as diverse, where we need to bring in maybe some more diversity to our strengths. Because imagine a team 10 out of 10 with pride. Okay, so the whole team are on quality, are on output. It has to be immaculate. Everything has to be brilliant. Sometimes that's not possible. Yeah. So, you know, what does it look like then for other people to have different strengths? So it's really helpful for diversity as well.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I was asking, in fact, and very good for diversity in basically understood as in the widest meaning of the world, not just, you know, colors and race and
just appreciation.
Yeah,
just
exactly
that appreciation. So when I've had, you know, so many teams in a room and all of a sudden there's conflict, and then a strengths exercise, let's say it's something like what do you want to be known for and what do you not want to be known for. And sometimes people are being relied upon things that that aren't their strengths, but you learn behaviors, things that you're good at. So that becomes sort of, oh, but you're really good at that. I'm always, you know, yeah, I know, but I don't necessarily want to be doing that. So, and then also maybe when you've got sort of teams that have got a lot of people with the same strength, then you've got this 1 or 2 people, then maybe that's where the conflict is. They've got different strengths. Maybe it's something like adherence. They're the rule followers. They're the ones always, they might feel negative, but they've got prevention as a top strength. So all of a sudden, what feels like conflict suddenly feels like a positive piece, because these are strengths now we can see in that person. And then you kind of understand, I really need, these people are really important on the team, because without them we would derail. We wouldn't understand how we were going wrong, or where we would go wrong, or how we might fall down a big hole if we went down this path. So using the language, it can really help sort of support conflict. And as you say, that sort of bigger picture of gratitude and appreciation of actually, although we're different, we really need each other, because I don't have that, you have that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is this concept, which I think was underlined also by Brené Brown, of vulnerability, of, you know, the grow mindset of, okay, if you are great, you inspire me, I can learn, I can use my strength, you know, we are all, you know, on this together by combining the different characteristics that make us thrive and that give us energy, that we can achieve a certain result and basically be a great company that, you know, performs again well, but because they've got not strictly talking the attention on performance, but on how they work together.
And delivery that's going to make everybody really engaged. So there's the vision. Okay, but how we get there might depend on obviously what you bring to that table in strengths. It's really important that also teams recognize things like learned behaviors, because culture can drive draining behavior. So it's about, okay, so we're all drained by detail. What are the processes that need to change? And I think when it comes from a collective group, you can be more powerful in terms of coming up with resolutions and problem solving ways to think, well, actually, how would we do that? Why is it that that's a problem? And also it gives, when instead of sort of opening a team meeting saying, you know, what are our challenges, suddenly it's a positive way of saying, so details of learned behavior, a high one for us. I wonder why that might be. Well, that's because this process doesn't work. So it helps people find sort of a voice behind problems as well. Weaknesses, really helpful to spot gaps. If there's big gaps in the team or areas that many people are struggling, again, what's the culture and why might that be? What strengths can support the team? And then finally with teams, love this bit, the potential of the team, the unrealized strengths. So, you know, what's stopping the team from dialing up some of these really important strengths, and how can they be using them more? Maybe finding champions to take things forward. But again, appreciating in the team, you know, what sits beneath each other rather than what we can just see. So the different exercises where you can sort of say, what is it that you want to be known for in the future and do more of? How can we help you?
Yeah, absolutely. It seems that by you really sort of like embracing this kind of strength philosophy, and actually you guys are not just research, you are a consulting company, so you actually help people to put this into practice. And thank you also that you allow us coaches and facilitator to, you know, use this amazing instrument that we can really transform, you know, one step at a time the world. Yeah. Thank you so much, Trudy. I think, you know, I've been using the strength profile for 4 years now, and it's one of my favorite instruments, if not the most useful one. But there is always so much to learn. So everyone that is interested, leaders, teams, anyone, because strength belongs to all of us, can look at that Cappfinity website, www.strengthprofile.com, and I'll put like a note underneath so that and your details as well, so that they can contact you if they wish so.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Trudy. It was such a pleasure, and your contribution is very much appreciated. Thanks so much.
Wishing everybody a good day.
Thank you.